When we look in the mirror, what we see is just a reflection of our appearance. But what if we looked inside ourselves? What would we find? Often we prefer to avoid this internal confrontation because it exposes parts of ourselves that we try to hide. Carl Jung, one of the great thinkers in psychology, referred to this mask we wear to hide our true selves as the persona. The persona is like a social disguise, something we create to meet others' expectations and fit into society. But it doesn't reflect who we really are. By wearing this mask for so long, we run the risk of losing touch with our essence. The persona can be useful for interacting with the world, but it can also distance us from our true selves. And the more we hide, the more we feed what Jung called the shadow, the repressed aspects of our personality. Today, we will talk about the persona, the mask that hides who you really are. Carl Jung defined the persona as the social mask we wear to adapt to the outside world. It is what we show to others, the role we play to meet the expectations of society, family, work, and those around us. The persona is formed by the norms, behaviors, and attitudes we adopt to be accepted. However, this mask does not always reflect who we truly are. As Jung said, the persona is what someone is not, but what he and others believe he is. In other words, the persona is our attempt to fit into society. But in doing so, we often end up repressing our true essence. It serves an important purpose. It helps us function socially and adapt to different situations. For example, we use a different persona at work, with friends or with family. However, the problem arises when we become too identified with this mask. When we believe that the persona is who we really are, we risk losing touch with our true selves. The persona is a necessary yet dangerous illusion. Necessary because it facilitates our interaction with others. Dangerous because it can distance us from ourselves. The great risk of living under this mask is that we begin to believe it is our identity, ignoring our authentic needs and feelings. The more we depend on it, the further we drift from what we truly are inside. Jung also pointed out that the more solid and rigid our persona becomes, the greater the contrast we create between it and what he called the shadow. The shadow is made up of the aspects of ourselves that we consider unacceptable or that do not fit social norms. In creating the persona, we end up casting these parts of ourselves into the darkness of our psyche. Thus, while the persona is the face we show to the world, the shadow is the side we hide from ourselves. Therefore, the persona can be useful, but it must be used with caution. We need to understand that it is only a part of our personality, and that behind this mask there are valuable and profound aspects that are being ignored. True freedom and self-knowledge come when we manage to balance the persona with our true selves, integrating both what we show to the world and what we hide, which is also part of who we are. Understanding the persona is the first step toward freeing ourselves from this mask and beginning to explore who we really are without the limitations imposed by external expectations. The dangers of excessive identification with the persona. When we become too identified with the persona, this social mask we use to adapt to the world, we begin to face serious problems. One of the greatest dangers is the loss of our authenticity. The more we strive to please others and meet social expectations, the further we drift from who we really are. Gradually, we set aside our true desires, feelings, and values, living only to maintain the image we have created for the world. Additionally, this excessive identification generates internal conflict. While we show one face to the world, there is another part of us called the shadow that remains repressed. The shadow, as Carl Jung explained, is made up of the aspects of our personality that we consider unacceptable or inappropriate for society. These aspects are repressed and pushed into the unconscious. The more we use the persona to hide who we are, the stronger and more dangerous the shadow becomes. This conflict between the persona and the shadow can lead to a series of consequences. For example, we may start to feel anxiety, guilt, or dissatisfaction, even when we seemingly appear to be living well. This occurs because we are repressing parts of ourselves that need to be acknowledged and integrated. The persona, when used excessively, creates an internal disconnection. The more we ignore our shadow, the more it manifests in unexpected ways, whether through impulsive behaviors, emotional outbursts, or even psychological illnesses. Therefore, the great danger of hiding who we really are is living an empty life, shaped by external expectations, while our true essence remains suffocated. For Carl Jung, the process of freeing ourselves from the persona and discovering who we really are is called individuation. Individuation is a journey of self-knowledge that leads us to integrate all parts of our personality, both those we show to the world and those we hide. This means recognizing not only the positive aspects, but also the negative and repressed ones that are part of us. One of the most important steps in this journey is to confront the shadow, which represents the hidden and often undesirable sides of our personality. As Jung said, the shadow is a living part of the personality and wants to be heard and recognized. In other words, it will not simply disappear because we ignore it. In fact, it needs to be faced and integrated. This process can be difficult because it means confronting parts of ourselves that we consider negative or shameful. But it is essential as it helps recover valuable aspects of our psyche that have been repressed over time. Dealing with the shadow is not a quick process. It is a lifelong task, as we are always discovering new aspects of ourselves. However, by integrating the shadow, we become more complete, gain a clearer vision of who we really are, and move closer to our authenticity. Self-knowledge involves accepting our imperfections and flaws, recognizing that they are part of our essence. Thus, the balance between the persona and the shadow is fundamental for a fuller and truer life. The persona should not be eliminated. Instead, we need to learn to use it consciously. It is a useful tool that helps us adapt to different situations and interact with others. However, the challenge is to find a balance between the persona and our true selves. This means recognizing when we are wearing the mask and when it is time to be authentic. Finding this balance is essential for living a more satisfying life. By accepting our persona as part of us, but not the only definition of who we are, we can begin to explore our true essence. It is in this space of authenticity that we find the freedom to express our emotions, desires, and thoughts without fear of judgment. This process helps us build more genuine and meaningful relationships. When we are true to ourselves and to others, we create deeper and healthier connections. Thus, the path to personal fulfillment involves accepting both the persona and the shadow, integrating all the parts that make us who we are. Throughout this journey, we have seen how the persona can help us interact with the world, but also how it can distance us from who we really are. The challenge is to balance this social mask with our true essence, allowing both to coexist. Recognizing and integrating the shadow is crucial for becoming more authentic and complete individuals. Dealing with our identity is not an easy task, but it is an essential step toward emotional freedom. When we look beyond the mask we wear, we begin to discover a rich and profound inner world full of potential. Therefore, I invite you to reflect on your own persona and make space for your authenticity, embracing all the parts that make you who you truly are.